We need to solve this compound inequality. This one is an OR, so that means it is a union of the two solutions. Solving the left-hand one, we'll subtract 5 from each side. X is greater than or equal to greater than -2. Solving the right-hand one, we'll subtract an x from each side. We'll end up with an x minus 3 is greater than 0, and then add 3 to both sides. X is greater than 3. If we looked at this, we would have x is greater than -2 would go here, and x is greater than 3 would go here. So we want the union. Combining those, we end up with, wherever there's anything, the -2 with a parentheses, and we'll go to the right, and interval notation would be -2 to positive infinity, and it will be parentheses on both ends because it was greater than. For this one, it's an and, so it's an intersection. And I'm going to multiply by 5s to get rid of my fractions. 3x minus 5 is greater than 10. 3x is greater than 15. And x is greater than 5. On this one, multiplying by 5, 25 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 15. Negative 2x is greater than or equal to -10. We're dividing by -2, so x will be less than or equal to 5. Now if I think about graphing this, here's 5. First one is greater than 5. And the second one is less than or equal to 5. Those do not overlap, so the interval notation, it's the empty set, and for graphing it, I would just have an empty number line. Absolute value inequalities. We've solved absolute values when we have an absolute value inequality. If the absolute value is greater than k, so that means x has to be less than -k or greater than k. It becomes the interval notation -infinity to -k, union with k to infinity. And the graph looks like this. It goes from -k, -infinity, and k to infinity. If the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to k, then of course these become less than or equal, greater than or equal. And we have brackets on the ends and brackets. If we say the absolute value is less than k, then x is between -k and k. It's between -k and k. In between. And this is just less than, so it's parentheses. When it's less than or equal, then it becomes brackets. Now we are assuming on this statement that k is greater than 0. So we're considering k greater than 0 for all of these. Now to solve these, this one we have the absolute value is less than or equal to 5. That means this absolute value is between -5 and 5, and we can solve it this way by putting the 4x minus 3 in between them. We would add 3 to both sides. I have -2 is less than or equal to 4x is less than or equal to 8. Divide everything by 4, so -1/2 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 2. And my interval notation becomes negative 1/2 to 2, brackets on both of those, graphing it, -1, so negative 1/2 would be here, 1 and 2, we would have brackets at 2 and negative 1/2 and be shaded in between. Now this is a greater than. This is a greater than. So in that case, 3x minus 2 is either greater than or equal to 7, or my 3 minus 2x is less than or equal to negative 7. What happens? So negative 2x is greater than or equal to 4. X is less than or equal to negative 2. Or I have negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 10. And x is greater than or equal to 5. On my number line, to graph that, here's my negative 2 and 5. Want less than or equal to negative 2. Graph here. And greater than or equal to negative 5 would be brackets going to infinity. So writing that in interval notation, it is negative infinity to negative 2 union with 5, brackets because it's or equal, to infinity. And we needed brackets here because it was or equal. Sorry about that mistake. This one is a less than, which means this absolute value is between negative 3 and 3. So the value inside the absolute value sign is between negative 3 and 3. I would first multiply by 2. Negative 6 is less than 9 minus 4x is less than 6. Adding or subtracting 9 from both sides, I'll get negative 15 is less than negative 4x is less than negative 3. I will have to divide everything by negative 4. Now remember, dividing by a negative switches the inequality. So I have 15/4 is greater than x is greater than 3/4. Whenever we write it like this, we do have the small on the inside, so we need to flip this to 3/4 is less than x is less than 15/4, which is 3 3/4. If that helps you understand that better. So in interval notation, that will be 3/4, and this is just an or equal, so it is parentheses, 3/4 to 15/4. Graphing that. Here's 3/4. Here's 15/4. We'll have parentheses at each end and shaded in between.